These are some Dinar Guru updates, starting off with Pimpy. There's a difference in RV and RI. RV is when you revalue a currency. We saw a revalue when the Iraqi dinar went from 1190 dinars to 1450. That is an RV. An RI is when you had an exchange rate for whatever reason, they changed it. Then once it was done, they just reinstated it. That's what happened to Kuwait. Sandy Ingram says the exchange rate between USD and IQD is still at 1458 on the international currency feed. We don't know why it has not calculated to 1300 per CBI's rate change, but I'll keep you posted. Mark Z via PDK, many of my contacts thought they would wake up to a new rate today at the earliest, most likely by tomorrow. I am watching it overwhelmingly. They believe this time this is it. That they have scheduled it, that we are waiting on the release. None of us know the exact timing, but we do know everyone is ready for it. Frank26 says, you don't care about the exchange rate as it reaches 1-to-1, do you? Frank says, of course not. You're not going to exchange. You could still make a nice little profit out of it, but you're waiting for the 1-to-1. You know the rate at which it will float. Note to consult your financial advisors to determine the best exchange strategy for your unique circumstances. All right, Paulette says typically if the budget will go through first reading and then go to Parliament's Finance Committee for this review. This review is often at least 2 to 3 weeks and often much longer. It then comes back for second reading, and if all agreed, it can be passed. If not agreed, it will go for at least 3 days before third reading and passage paragraph by paragraph, with the first paragraph delineating the rate. All right, K&G article, quote, the Kurdistan regional government announces reaching an initial agreement with Baghdad on the draft budget law, quote, the Iraqi government revealed 2 weeks ago that the Ministry of Finance had begun to re-prepare the general budget for the year 2023 according to the new exchange rate, 130,000 dinars per $100. Yes, I'm deemed negative, but in actuality it is not negative, but looking at all articles, not just the ones that are favorable. All right, Militiaman says, when we're talking about value, we're talking about things that are determined from what? Income streams beget value and assets create value. They don't want to underestimate the value and they don't want to overestimate the value. They want it right in line for what is fair or real. Real effective exchange rate is on the table. All right, Mark Z via PDK. Question, I saw that Iraq is going to 1-to-1 and redenominate at the same time and then let it float. That would make logistical sense. Mark Z says, but as I understand it, the gold treaty needs them to come out at a higher rate. But if Iraq is frustrated on waiting, it makes sense for Iraq to come out at a lower rate and float. If it floats, I believe it will float up. Their goal was to reach the $4 mark, but it would be nice to get the new big rate all at once. All right, Jeff says, when you look at their actions, about 2 weeks ago, they had a major meeting in Washington, D.C. The Iraq Central Bank met with the U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserve to lay out all the ongoing future requirements and steps that are going to be put in place regarding our money, their money, and some other currencies out there, and some precautionary steps in regards to the dollar, the cans and can't do's. A lot of good things are happening. All right, Mark Z said, via PDK says very quiet on the Iraqi RV front, almost like they're NDAs or something. They're talking all around things as if they have an NDA. Been reaching out to individuals from the U.S. side, and they will talk about a lot of things, but won't answer questions. Several strange conversations today. I hope this means something good. I am still hearing positive things about this week. The goal was still to get things out the door by tomorrow night. We will see if they meet or don't. We don't know the timing, but we do know it is exceptionally close. All right, Deepwood's response to Guru K&G post. For me, the mystery is due to what we've learned, that they cannot reveal a major change in their rate due to legalities. There are finer details and inner workings that we are not privy to. I, for one, am not worried. There are hundreds of articles in just the last couple weeks alone concerning the exchange rate, contracts, other countries, online platforms, sonar devices, etc. None of this makes sense at 1300, 1190, or even 1-to-1. All this sounds like one of the most valuable currencies in the world. All right, Pimpy says when it comes to Iraqi dinar, there's a lot of variable that's involved. It isn't going to happen overnight. It'll most likely happen in increments. There's a lot of things that people have to take into consideration. All right, Frank 26 says, how do you think the value of Iraqi dinar is going up on its own? And Frank's answer to that question was Forex is the float. And lastly, Mark Z via PDK, we know Iraq is openly talking about changing the rate, and in their news you will see there are a number of contracts that Iraq has paid to other countries in the last week or so. If you do the math, it is showing the rate $1.66 to $1.86 or so because of the number of dinar they gave and the dollars attached to those contracts. They paid those contracts in dinar. I think they are already dealing at a higher rate. It just hasn't made it to us yet. They still have a bit of an educational process to continue for their people. They are still educating them on the lower denominations. We know they've been printed close to 5 years now, and they are prepared.